What are the stages of the entrepreneurial journey?
So far, I've identified 6 stages, 6 basic stages of the journey. It starts with the you stage, where the entrepreneur is really working on themselves, and they aren't an entrepreneur. They're just a person in the world, and not just a person, they are a person in the world, and they're developing themselves. And that really happens from the time you're born till, ongoing. Then there's the question stage, the question. The reason I call it the question stage is because what I've uncovered is that all great entrepreneurial journeys are, the quest is actually rooted in a question. So what happens is that the person gets acquainted with their question. Everyone has a unique question. You can ask that question in lots of different ways, but ultimately you'll find there's a unique question that's guiding it. And then they say yes to that question. So they go on a question, instead of going on a quest. And that's really the beginning of the internal journey. So if the you stage is the beginning of your journey of skills and capabilities, talents, and so on and so forth, what you do in the world, the question stage is the beginning of an internal dialogue with yourself about your relationship to the world and to the universe and so on and so forth. And so that question stage is all about deciding to go on the journey. Luke Skywalker going, okay, my parents are dead, I'm going to go with Obi-Wan. Then there's the ideation stage. The ideation stage is, now that I've got my talents and passions, I'm armed with my question, I'm going to produce something that the world needs, or that maybe my answer to my question that pleases me, that hopefully other people will be able to enjoy. So you make your first version of that product. It's the birth of the product or service or cause or experience or community or whatever it is you're making. And that continues. Then you enter the valley of death stage. And the valley of death stage is the death of many things, including the entrepreneur's maybe false ego, but also potentially the death of the venture, because you've got to now go find a customer who will actually buy your product, some way exchange value with you for it. So the key action is sell, and it's the birth of the customer. And you take all these things that, again, each of these things is additive. It's the best analogy I've found is it's a fugue. Different lines of music, different melodies, each their own line, and as you add layer upon layer upon layer of music, it has to still sound beautiful. And that's a challenge. As you layer, you might organize a line, it's all sounding good. You add a new element, and it messes up the first line. So you got to go back in and tweak that, and all of a sudden, good. Now you can add a third. So as you're adding these lines to the fugue, you're progressing in the stages. And sometimes, if a line can't kind of work, collapses back down, you go backwards in the stage. And it's not backwards, it's just you're going back to a stage that you maybe didn't quite truly conquer or truly solve. So then the valley of death, and then you get the growth stage. You get to sustainability. And then you can decide what you want to do in terms of growing fast or maintaining. You might decide you enjoy being a 5-person company, and that's what you want to do. But essentially the growth stage is the emergence of the business model. Essentially all these lines of the fugue lining up are your business model, and now you scale it, you systematize it. What was your founding team now becomes your culture. What was that inner journey becomes your mission or your question. What was your product? You see how these elements all come together, and now you kind of have to scale, do it at some kind of scale. So those are the core stages, and then of course there's a re-bootstrap stage, which is that nothing ever lasts forever. Everything needs to be tweaked. The universe is always moving. So business models have a lifespan, it turns out. And companies and organizations have to continually find a way to reinvent and do that process over and over again so that they can kind of keep meeting the new demands of the world. I mean, Apple right now is the greatest example of a company that has been re-bootstrapped by its founder to create entirely new business models for it.